Hey everyone, Scott here, walking around Barangaroo here in the city. Beautiful sunny day here in Sydney. And you know, there is one tax no one's really talking about now in terms of housing affordability, creating more housing for people so that there's less upward price pressure on housing, less upward price pressure on rents, and providing people with the ability to move into the home that they need at the various stage of their lives. Now, there's a lot going around at the moment about negative gearing. There's a lot going on about capital gains tax. Of course, these things are for investors, and there's a lot of negativity on investors. However, what's very alarming is we actually need more investment activity, because it's primarily investors that take on the risk of building a brand new home to go into the rental market to be able to provide a rental accommodation. Also, many people, for example, might live in the inner city, might live here in the Sydney CBD, for example, like that lifestyle, are renting, want to get onto the property ladder, but potentially want to actually get their first investment and rent vest. So buy a property in Perth and Brisbane, maybe on the outskirts of Sydney, a property they can afford, and actually create a rental accommodation for someone else in the community. And that's why we actually need more investors. But the one tax that no one's talking about, that if we could make some changes here would really help, is stamp duty. Now, stamp duty is a state-based tax, and it's incredibly expensive. So back when houses were, $10,000 or $15,000, back in the 1970s, 1980s, stamp duty was not a whole lot of money. Now, in Sydney, for example, median house price above $1 million, stamp duty is very expensive. Many people are paying $30,000 up to $45,000, even more in some cases, in stamp duty. And what this means is people don't want to move because they're thinking about making a move. They've got to factor in the cost of stamp duty. So yeah, as a first home buyer, typically you're not going to pay stamp duty because of the stamp duty concessions. Okay, in some cases you can qualify for that, not all. But if you do even qualify for that and you want to move into your second home, so let's say you need a bigger home for the family, you need to upgrade from that 2-bedroom apartment into a 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house, and you now have to factor in $35,000, $40,000 of stamp duty into doing that. That means you can't do it. So you've got to stay in your property. You can't then move on up through the property ladder. You're not making that property that you were in available to the next buyer. And this just creates a blockage in the system. Now, the hard thing about it is state governments need money, the federal governments need money, but the majority of the taxes raised are raised by the federal government. Most of it right now is coming from obviously income tax. And then you've got the GST, which the federal government controls all of that. You've got corporate tax, and then you've got like state-based taxes, right? You've got the stamp duty on property, which is a huge one, other fees, other charges, other levies. At the state base, you've got land tax, state base. So you've got the states trying to scramble for money, the federal government scrambling for money. So will the states actually turn around and scrap the stamp duty? Very hard for them to do because they've made all these commitments on health and education and policing and all of these things. They give a lot of money away, for treaties and land rights and different things like that. There's a lot of community organizations that they give money away to, primarily really just to win votes. And so there's a lot of wastage at the state level, a lot of wastage at the federal level. And so we're wasting all these money right now. We're not talking about the eradication of stamp duty. If we were to eradicate stamp duty, then it would make the flow of transitioning from property to property a lot easier. It would free up property. It'd mean more people, say for example, I'm an older couple, I'm in a 5-bedroom home, all these empty houses, for me to be able to sell down and to be able to do that, well, it'd be a lot easier if I didn't have this stamp duty burden. And maybe we could have some incentives for people to sell down. Ultimately, what is the main problem? It all comes down to government policy settings, not having the right settings so that we can create and build enough property. And right now we are attacking the main people that bring new supply onto the market, which are property investors. So this is something that does keep me up at night in terms of the housing crisis, because our leaders have absolutely got it wrong because they're vote hunting. Okay guys, take care.
For more videos like this, please click like and subscribe for more information around the property market. Thank you.